Neon lights flashing in the dark of the night. I'm playing Pac-Man, it's my second life. The joystick's in my hand, I'm unstoppable. High score secrets, I've got them all unlocked. Memories rush back like a time machine. Take me back to the arcade, where I spent my younger days. And the black lights glowing on a pocket full of tokens. Dance and groove to the beat. On the pixelated screen we meet. New waves, melodies playing loud. Lost in the arcade, my heart is found. Hair and red fashion, we were all quite a sight. Popping tokens in the cabinet, it's the thrill of the fight. We saved the world through pixelated dreams. We're the greatest generation with the faded acid jeans.
Hi, welcome to our Week of AI Day 4 Leadership Panel. And we have some amazing voices in the house that have been in EdTech for a long time, who have seen the changes in educational technology, who have weathered them. I know Scott was talking about remembering Google and the calculator. I'm picking on you, Scott, but yeah, excited to dig right in. We're just going to let them kind of introduce themselves and dive straight into our questions. We hope to get through 10, and feel free to throw some questions at our panel as well. If there's something that's bugging you in the AI space, if there's like a pressure point that you're feeling and you don't have a solution to, drop it in the chat. We have a wide range, and they're going to tell you their backgrounds so you understand the perspectives and the experience that they're speaking from. We'll start with the top left corner and kind of circle around. So Thomas, you're no stranger. We just had you at 5 o'clock.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Thompson. I'm a co-founder and the CEO of WeekofAI and a middle school social studies teacher.
Hi, my name is Alana Winnick, and I am a school district leader. I'm an educational technology director and data protection officer of a school district just north of New York City.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mario. I'm from Spain. That's why I have a weird accent that you can hear. And I've been a sixth grade teacher for 10 years, and now I'm a co-founder of eTwins Education with my brother, my twin brother, that you can see over there as well. And we have our own consulting firm.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we're wrapping around this way or that way, but I guess I'll go ahead and talk. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Thomas. I'm the founder, CEO of EduMatch, and also I wear a district hat, and I have been my team's AI lead.
Hello, everyone. I'm the other half of eTwins. I'm also in Spain right now, it's kind of late here. But I'm so looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for having us.
And I'm Scott Bricker, Director of EdTech at a K-8 school here in Southern California, also speaker and consultant, and founder of Awful Learning educational consulting company.
Every time I hear awful learning, it's like, oh, awful. No, I love it. I love it. Erica, I don't think we properly. Yeah, we're gonna.
Sure, Erica Sandstrom. Most people know as Green Screen Gal. I am a digital media teacher and digital learning coach in Peabody, Massachusetts, north of Boston.
And I'm Amanda Fox, founder of Week of AI and author of the AI Classroom. I've taught for over a decade, just about every content area there is. I'm an EdTech evangelist and serial EdTech entrepreneur. I've started multiple consulting companies, after school programs, and publishing companies.
Boy, I should have done more.
And I am Christy Cloud, and this is my 23rd year in the classroom. I teach digital or virtually, so tech is near and dear to my heart. I also teach a college course on the integration of technology into the classroom. So I get to see it at lots of different levels. I'm very excited about this.
Awesome. So I'm going to kick us off with our first question. Question 1, how can AI enhance personalized learning experiences for all students? What challenges might arise in creating and supporting learning environments that promote this type of learning? And feel free to jump in. Sarah, you're nodding.
I mean, I guess I'll go first. Sorry, no one else was going for it. I forgot a lot of my titles. I'm also an author and a podcaster, and I'm on the board of directors for NiceGate. And we just had the E-Twins as our keynote, and I interviewed them for my podcast, and they're incredible. So if you haven't heard them speak, highly recommend, and you should check out that episode of the podcast too. So shout out to you guys. I might steal one of your quotes, but I'll give you credit, I swear. So personalized learning. So I'm going to start with one that I think no one else will really talk about, because I think where I know where most of you are going to go with it. I'm going to go with the A students. So the students who are consistently A learners and they consistently get A's, and let's say they're a really strong writer, they're going to continue getting A's. But are they really growing? They might not actually be growing as writers, but with AI, it will allow us to really focus on, and I'll talk about it later, the process over product, and really make sure that each student is growing to their maximum potential. And the challenge that I really find with all of this is that bias within it. So I think that we really just need to be mindful of bias that AI might have when they're assessing our students, and making sure that we use what the U.S. Department of Education put out with humans in the loop, and making sure that all final educational decisions are finalized by a human teacher.
Cracks me up that we have to say the word human now. Does anybody else notice that? Well, how often do we use human?
So if I was to jump in, I guess I think I see two real areas where this might be interesting going forward. The first is probably still a few years off, I would imagine, because for reasons I'll get to. One is around smart tutors, right? The large language model kind of accompanying the student through the school day, also at home, right? When the teacher can't be there with them, when the parent might be outmatched by the calculus homework that the student is working on, right? So having some sort of model that is accompanying the student through their learning journey, that is providing them with actionable feedback on the spot, providing them with remediation questions, right? Being able to walk them through that process and being right there and on call. Now, of course, there's obvious problems around guardrails, bias, hallucinations, etc. There are some student-facing AI tools out there presently, but if you play on them long enough, you can get them to do kind of wacky things. Because if you make say an AI tool for teachers, there's some guardrails there, right? There's an instructional parameters that you're working within. But when you're working with a student, you kind of quickly can get out of that instructional sandbox. The student asks follow-up questions, the student probes deeper. Who can predict what direction a student may take a piece of content. So, for example, let's say you're working in your literature class and you have a student reading, I don't know, Kurt Vonnegut book, or maybe a kid wants to do a project on Hunter S. Thompson or something like that. And then you have a chatbot that is suggesting, I don't know, illicit substances or something like that, right? You want those guardrails on there, especially when you get deeper into, say, literature, history, subjects where the appropriateness of the topic will become increasingly more of a factor. The second would be a teacher using AI to, say, identify areas for remediation, find areas where students could work on, say, prior knowledge measures that they do not have, being able to close those gaps, and then maybe systems with predictive analytics around that. Say a teacher, your entire 8th grade department in, I don't know, mathematics is identifying a specific standard where students are failing. The district can kind of see that get flagged and then develop some sort of policy or remediation around that to address those gaps.
Anyone else want to pop in on here? Do we have any comments from our viewers on this topic? Christy?
Yeah, as a classroom teacher, one thing that I would really like to point out that I see as a big challenge that we are currently facing is the inequity of tools that are offered to students. Just because of the powers that be. Some districts and schools have jumped wholeheartedly into embracing AI, and then you have other districts and other schools that are understandably, cautious about it, but then you get an inequity among what students are able to use and what they know how to use. And, it concerns me about their preparation for tools that are obviously here to stay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Erica.
No, I was just agreeing with her because I know with our administration that I'm still getting the look of, and they get really quiet. They're not arguing about it. They're just really quiet. So I think that is such a hurdle too, just to get past that, but we'll get them.
Yeah, I would also jump in and say that there are so many good responses that were already shared. One thing that I just wanted to jump in with, I forgot to say in my intro that I taught every grade from 1st to 12th at some point, started my teaching career in 2004. And AI for personalizing instruction has been around for a lot longer than some people have known. I remember using it back, it was embedded in some tools that I was using back with my students back in like 2014, 2015, things of that nature. But now they have definitely gotten a lot more robust in terms of what they can do. And I think that, that it's definitely exciting. I want to echo what Christy was saying about the access to, the different tools and the access also around the mindset, around letting students have access to it and things of that nature, or encouraging their educators to leverage it effectively. But I would say that some challenges, sometimes, when it comes to picking and choosing tools and the way that we use them as educators, and then we have to be sure not to include personally identifiable information, things along those lines, where the data could be trained and leaked out there to the public and things of that nature. But also, just as we are making sure that that our students are using it to level up, as Alana was saying, then also using it ourselves to definitely have that human touch. I forgot who said the human part. Was that Alana also?
Alana. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely making sure that we have that human touch to make sure that the output is exactly what we want. So yeah.
Good point.
I'm gonna move on to the next question. This one's gonna have to scroll across the ticker. Erica, would you like to introduce it and read it really, really fast? I can restart it. Hold on.
I can do it. What advice would you share with school and district leaders around the need to be proactive with the effective implementation and application of AI? How should they support their teachers through the process as we all learn together? I'm excited to hear the answer to this because I need this help. So.
I'll jump in here. I think my gut reaction is to say, please don't wait. That's my first advice to them. At the same time, though, let's obviously be smart, intelligent, cautious about this and work methodically through the process. But my biggest concern with the tendency to block and resist all these things, as Amanda said earlier, from calculators on up to internet and tablet and the whole thing. If we block AI and try and push it off even a year or two, the rate at which AI is growing, it's going to create gaps that I don't think we'll be able to overcome. So I'm not suggesting to any administrator to open the floodgates and let everything in. But at a minimum, we have to start opening the conversation around how does this change teaching and learning? Not how do we, build a worksheet through an AI tool versus just photocopying it, but how do we fundamentally transform and reimagine the learning and teaching process? And I think just starting that conversation is number one in terms of advice for administrators and leaders.
One point.
Yeah, I can follow up. I would say that, I have two perspectives here. The first one is what Scott was saying before, don't wait, right? Because right now AI is evolving so fast, it changes all the time. So the skill gap is going to get just bigger and bigger because, I don't think we've seen a technology that evolves and progresses so much than this. So I think like it's important to train teachers and like because it's not just a time lag, it's going to be the skill gap in the teachers with all the reskilling and upskilling that they are going to need to catch up. But at the same time, it worries me the amount of schools and districts that they are using AI with teachers and students without having any guidelines or frameworks to use that AI. So we are receiving a lot of requests to, okay, come to my district or come to my school and just do a training on AI, like teach our teachers how to use AI or students. And our first question is always the same. Okay, what are your guidelines? What is your framework? How do you want to use AI with your faculty and with your teachers? And most of them don't have one. So I think that's a big mistake, that it is important to just like start right now, but at the same time, just like have in mind how you want to use AI in your district.
Also, like adding to that, following up. Oh, sorry. Eric.
No, go. You could go.
Yes, just following up what Mario was saying. We always talk about three kind of groups. First group is leadership, to talk about framework. Then after the framework, we need to have a plan to train teachers, right? Because like we have the recent mistake of giving devices to everyone without training, and we all know how that end up in many places around the world, right? So we need to give devices, integrate technology with a training, and that's key for teachers. But also we don't need to forget about the AI literacy that we need to apply with the students. So if we are using AI with the students and opening AI tools to students, we need to keep in mind to have some kind of curriculum to teach AI literacy to students, how to use AI in a responsible way, how to teach them what's behind that chatbot, that LLM that they are interacting with. Like, okay, what's happening there? Where my data is gonna go? Like, what's happening? So I think those three groups, if a school, a district, or institution wants to start applying AI, they should look at those three groups: leadership team with a framework, teachers with a training, and students applying an AI literacy curriculum for them.
Okay, I'll piggyback on that. So I think, like everyone said, it's not going anywhere. That's a reality. It's here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. So we have to embrace it. At our core, like I think we started off the conference with our why, which is the students, and at our core, it's really our job to prepare those students for their future, because they are our future, and it is literally inequitable to not teach these students how to use these tools. So we are causing a digital divide, and I'm ruining my points later, but it's not a socioeconomic thing anymore. It's if you do not have access, you are at a disadvantage. So as a leader, just you need to keep that in mind, and of course do it in a safe way. I recommend a phased approach. Start with your teachers first and then go to your students. But I think the one piece of advice, if I could give to you, is really just there's a difference between a policy, a position, and guidelines. As a leader or as a teacher, so as a leader to your teachers or as a teacher to your students, what is your position? You need to tell your teachers or your students what your position is, because if you don't tell them, then they don't know. So step one, tell them your position. And I really believe that it's really, going to vary by district to district, building to building, teacher to teacher, assignment to assignment. So it's really mostly about the assignment guidelines. And as an administrator, like I'm not going to make a policy unless my board and my superintendent tell me to do it, because I really try to empower my teachers to, go to do whatever they want in a safe and ethical way. And I do have guidelines on what's safe and ethical, and I posted them on social media. It's called Be an AI DJ, so check them out. But I really want to empower my teachers to make assignment guidelines. So it's all comes down to education. So educating your teachers on safe and ethical ways, and empowering them to make guidelines on an assignment by assignment basis. And if you listen to the session on Monday, you will hear 8-year-olds eloquently and powerfully tell you how they use it and when they use it, and that they use it and it helps them with their writing, with critical thinking, creativity. So I would never want to take that power away from that teacher to make the decision of if and when it's appropriate. And I think the way that you do this really just is providing ongoing professional development and support, and just really giving them time. Like, that's the best thing you could do, is give them time to play. And I'll talk more about that when we talk about professional development.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, to add to all of that, that was wonderful. Excuse me. And, you know, the ongoing professional development, but I think it's important to during all of this, for the implementation process, is to include students, teachers, and even parents in all of it. So it's a group effort, because let them all play, but absolutely include them all in the implementation process. But that was
I think an important area to start at is an area that unfortunately we don't see too often, which is just strip away all the technology and ask basically, what problem do I want to solve with a tech integration, right? I feel like you can get into a place where you're kind of almost creating this race to adopt an AI system in your school. And I think that is a mistake ultimately. I mean, we've seen plenty of schools with smart boards in classrooms that are just collecting dust because, you know, it wasn't actually making sense to adopt that technology in that specific classroom. So of course you want sensible adoption. You want transparent goals. You want a clear development framework. You need capacity building and professional development in your school so that your teachers are comfortable using these technologies in a way that will empower students and empower the teachers to do their work and to implement evidence-based instructional techniques. So really democratic governance structures with clear roles, checks and balances, including all the relevant stakeholders and people in these conversations about what that adoption would look like.
Oh, Rachel says her district is a huge district with no ed tech educators. They have eliminated almost all librarians. Educators are too overwhelmed to push the conversation. They actually eliminated all ed tech leaders here in our district as well. Any educational technologist, anyone that was doing the training here, just gone.
I have none. So I'm really have no department. So I just think people would assume I do. I don't. I have no ed tech facilitators. And I was going to talk about it with professional development, but what I do is, like, I'm all about empowerment. In case you haven't noticed that, if you weren't on the Monday call, I like to empower my teachers. I like to empower my students. And I really try to build a community where we all learn and grow from each other, and we feel safe to share our successes and share our challenges and learn and grow together. So I actually only presented to my own staff one time. Like, I have an AI podcast and book, and I only presented one time, because every other time I empowered everyone else to share what's working, share what's not working. And I think you don't need, if you think you need ed tech facilitators to do this, you don't. It's all about using the incredible people that you have in your district and empowering them to share and learn and grow together. So you don't need it to do it. I'm proof of that.
I love that bottom-up approach. So, you know, instead of at your faculty meetings, set aside that quality time where you have your ed camps built into those after-school faculty meetings. When I was in Savannah, we had an amazing principal who always had their teachers, they had us sign up for slots to present what we were doing in our classroom, what new ed tech tools, what strategies were working. There would be 3 rotation sessions, and we'd do a potluck, make a plate, and then go and rotate through and watch our peers present. So having a pulse of what's going on in the building, and your principals, your administrators, Alana, exactly what you're doing by, kind of stepping back, because sometimes the most powerful tool and change is going to come from the bottom up. So Christy, you said something earlier. What advice do you have to give to teachers who have their hands tied? Be loud, be squeaky, and talk about the good change, the good pedagogy, the good use cases, and the power of AI in different scenarios.
Yeah, and Amanda too. How about tell the student stories, right? Whether through data or like Alana's students who presented the other day. Like, you try one tool out. I don't pick your tool. I don't care what it is, and try it out and see how it engages the students. And record a video or have them present, or again track data on how they learned then versus before. I mean, those are all powerful stories and evidence to tell and show administrators, hey, this is working. You know, yeah, we have our concerns about it, but this stuff does change students' lives and open doors that previously weren't available.
Yes. And send the link to this panel and send a link to Alana's student town hall to your admin. The student town hall, I think, has been the most powerful session that we've had all week because we started with the why. We started with hearing from students.
And I forgot to say, I forget about it. I'm launching this new thing. And if you listen to the Monday call, it's called Students for Innovation. And that's exactly what it is. It's empowering students to advocate for change in their schools. And there's some incredible mentors involved. So I would definitely check it out. And that's all organic. Talk about the bottom up. That's like the bottom. The children are building this. And I'm just really there to support them. But I've been thinking about this, like, if you want to make change, get a group of kids. I had 8-year-olds, have them present to your board. If they could speak the way my students spoke, which they can, I'm confident they can, that will make change. I can guarantee it.
All right, Christy, you want to introduce question 3?
Absolutely. How will AI impact our assessment practices with students and the learning outcomes and goals we set with them throughout their K through 12 experience?
I can comment on that if no one is going to. I think like AI to me is one of the biggest revolutions in education because it's gonna change something that haven't changed much over the years, which is evaluation. I think that AI is putting educators in front of the mirror and making us asking ourselves questions that we haven't asked ourselves before. Like this assignment, this assessment was evaluating what I really wanted. It's useful nowadays in 2024 because we have been evaluating and using the same kind of assessments from 20, 50 years ago. And the world around that had changed. Like before, we needed to memorize the content because we couldn't take a computer or a book or even a smartphone with us. Is that necessary anymore with internet, with AI now? Like I think AI is gonna make us to go to a more like competency-based learning, which is something that we needed from a long time ago, and somehow we managed to not go through that transition. And now with AI here, it's gonna just change everything. The way we teach, the way we evaluate, the way we make our assignments, our assessments, and the way we learn. And I think that's gonna make education better because it is something that we needed from a long time ago and we didn't do it.
I was gonna say that was their whole keynote. And if you go back and listen to the episode of my podcast, which is the Generative Age, they talk really deeply. We had a whole hour-long conversation about that and many other things, but that's where I was going to give you the credit. You guys do a really great job at talking about the future of learning and assessment. So I was going to give you guys a little shout out there. But I think what I took from your keynote, what that really stuck with me was the title that I stole from it was AI is a catalyst for change. And I've been using that and giving you guys credit for that. So I've always believed that teaching and learning and assessment needed to change. I've always felt it. And then when the pandemic happened, I was like, this is it. You know, the world's a horrible place, but like this was the change we needed. And then everything kind of went back. And then when AI came out, I was like, nope, you can't go backwards anymore. This literally is the catalyst for change and there's no going backwards. So I think not like we're recommending anything that is so far out there. Just use what we know works, like project-based learning, design thinking, all the things we know work. I don't need to preach to the choir here, but it's nothing new. So just, I think we used to say if a question's Googleable, it's not a good question. Now, if an assignment is AIable, maybe that's not a good assignment anymore. And we really need to rethink how we're assessing learning and what we are asking of our students.
That's the first time I've heard that. Googleable, now AIable. I love it.
Yeah, and you know what? Talking about assessments, if you go back and watch that session from Monday, I don't know if you caught it. I texted you, Amanda. One of my students said when we asked her when they use AI, she goes, oh, we use it for pretty much everything except when we're preparing for the state exams. I mean, like that crushed me because I'm like the state exams, like, is that what's important? Like, and that crushes creativity. That, like, is that assessment? Like, is assessment a state exam? I don't know. It really got me like my head spinning when I heard her say that. It kind of hurt me a lot, but
So one of the things I want to comment is on David's comment here, which is why I've left it up. AI is exciting to me for instant feedback. So if we look at assessment, most learning happens during the process, during the formative check-ins. Formative assessment is informative. Informative assessment is informing us, the teachers, where students are at. And as an English teacher who had 125 kids, it was virtually, I mean, it was a task, you know. And I say this: Friday, go home, get that $3 chuck, and just chug through 125 essays to get it back to kids by Monday. With things like Curipod that has the built-in instant feedback with writing. Students are, you know, they're not dependent on their teacher anymore to come in and give that feedback. And a lot of times, like I had a student named Eleanor who was a 7th grader, probably writing at a collegiate level. Her entire life, she's coasted through, like, no problem, model A student, but she's never gotten more than an A written on her paper. Like, I took the time to go in and write detailed feedback because I believe, you know, our gifted students who are above grade level need to be given feedback to help them grow as well. But it's impossible to do that on every assignment. But with AI, you know, you invite AI in, and it's there throughout that formative process, that formative assessment. And to me, I think emphasis needs to be put back on that in our formative piece, and off that final product, unless we're doing projects, because the whole process of learning, I don't know. I just think AI is going to give timely, instant, and personalized feedback, going back to Hattie, and tools like Snorkel.
And also, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was
No,
just
go ahead, Scott.
you can predict your future performance and get identify learning gaps, but future part is huge. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, the instant feedback, I think instant, real time, whatever word you want to pick, is so critical. I mean, I'm of the generation, I'll date myself a little bit. I know it still happens, but you know, math homework was go do 1 through 45 odd, and you cheered because you knew you had the answers in the back of the book, so you could go check your work. If you got evens,
I remember that.
You were kind of screwed because you never know if you had the right answer or not. Right. And I just think, like, oh my gosh, like, and we still have teachers kind of practicing those same sort of habits. So, you know, the way we can leverage this technology to get the focus away from grades, and as Amanda so eloquently says, really focus on that real-time feedback. That's what closes learning gaps, you know, not waiting days and weeks at a time to understand how I'm doing, getting that real-time feedback. Or not getting it at all, right? That's even worse. Don't even get me started on that. And the last piece of that kind of ties the ribbon around it is normalizing failure. We have to take the focus away from grades and numbers that present this, you know, I can't do math, or I'm not a good writer, or I stink at this, and just understand that we learn more through failure than we do through success. And that has to be more of the focus in education, normalizing that and helping students work through their challenges, not be frustrated by I got a 0 or I failed a test. That kind of language has to leave our vocabulary as teachers. We created this, and I think we have to fix it for our students.
And I completely.
Oops, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say just like I completely agree, but before that, I love how you guys, English speakers, make everything a verb or an adverb, like able and stuff like that. I love it though. That's very funny. We should do it in Spanish as well, like take it and import it. Besides that, no, I was gonna say that how important is what you said about the progress versus the final product. Because, you know, like all the learning is during the process, but at the same time, you know, like how you can transfer that to different contexts, like it's way more transferable, that learning, than the final product. You know, whatever you make is probably, you will be able to use it in 1 or 2 different contexts, but what in the final product, but whatever you're learning in the process, you can transfer that to different contexts and in different abilities. And also with AI, because we are hopefully we will do more like a formative evaluation on assessments, we will be able to get more data from students, because we will use AI, you know, and AI will provide us that data, so we can finally do a good database approach where we can use the data to improve not only how they learn, but how we teach as well. Like we are not doing that right now. And I think it's very important that with technology, we will get more data from them, not just like how much they know, but how they are learning and in what level they are. And we will be able to use that, like to improve our teaching as well.
Just one quick thing about that. I think the next big thing coming is what Mario mentioned in education, which is how to use the big data to improve our practice and to improve students' learning. Because like this happened in like every single revolution or evolution in this case in education. You look around in other industries, they are using big data from, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago. And here we are not doing it. So I think it's coming. And with AI and new technology, we're getting more and more data from students, even from teachers' practices. And then we need to learn how to use that to improve our teaching and learning practices as well.
So I think I was very ambitious, or we were very ambitious with our questions, as it's already 7:08. So
good questions. Oh, we should do another one.
So question 4, what steps can be taken to bridge the digital divide to promote inclusivity? Question 5, how can AI be integrated into curriculum to foster creativity? Which one do you guys want to tackle next?
I guess I'll jump in because I know that there was one about equity. I think that was question number 4. And that's a topic that really speaks to my heart. Co-wrote a series for ISTE about digital equity that came out in 2017 and 2018, I believe. And one of the things, this is kind of funny because one of the things that we put in chapter 5 of the very first book, which nobody reads because it's for like teacher educators. So everybody thinks, oh, that's higher ed, but really it's for anyone who like prepares teachers. We actually did some generative writing in that book as well, where it was totally weird. There were these, huh?
Tell me the name of it. I'm going to drop it in the chat.
Yeah, it's Closing the Gap, digital equity and the teacher preparation book, right? So random factoid, but that has absolutely nothing with what I was about to say for my answer. But one thing that we were talking about quite a bit in that book was about the intersection of a few different things that were coming, that had really influenced ed tech over the years. And we found that the 3 main things were access to devices, social media, and as well as artificial intelligence. So the interplay of these 3 areas really shaped education technology from like 2004 or 2002 maybe to 2017 when we did our analysis. So the book was all about digital equity. There was one thing that I was reading recently that kind of touched upon the bias and the equity piece that we need to really be aware of. And I'm probably going to mispronounce the author's name, so my apologies. I've only seen it written, but Joy Buolamwini, who is at the MIT Media Lab, and she wrote a really interesting piece about how a lot of times there is like a doomsday scenario that people are afraid of when they encounter AI. But the real danger that exists is the impact on marginalized groups, how it causes harm to marginalized groups. And that's one thing that we need to be aware of, and it's through different ways, such as facial recognition technology, some medical technologies that might discriminate against people with darker skin. And so she has really advocated for more equitable and accountable AI. And, it's been extremely influential. Her work is extremely influential. And I think that all of us in the education field also need to be cognizant of this, as we prepare our students to be living in this world and to enter this field themselves, but also recognizing that a lot of data that, all of the data that's been trained has been created by humans. And as human beings, we're flawed. We have our biases. We have things of that nature. So just really equipping them with the knowledge, the discernment, the critical thinking skills to be able to separate, fact from fiction. So that's like, to me, that's been really important when it comes to equity in AI.
I agree. That is like honestly my number one thing. So I I've been speaking a lot about this topic. And so I had Ken Shelton on my podcast to talk about this. And I also have a specific episode called like AI in the Field, AI Bias and Discrimination. And the way that I rolled this out to my students, I actually personally rolled out AI to every single student in grades 1 and up, because that's where we start coding. And it was all about AI bias and discrimination. And I wanted that to be their first introduction to AI, because yes, it's a powerful tool. Yes, it could do creative and innovative and great things, but they need to understand that. So what I did was I used that code.org activity with the fish, and on purpose, we did not train the model well. It's supposed to sort the garbage from the fish in the ocean and save the ocean. But we trained it poorly on purpose because I wanted the students to see that AI is only as good as the data that it's trained on and the humans that are training it. And I thought that was the most important thing that they can learn. So I have a whole podcast episode about that, and I'm writing a blog about it right now. But I also think like for them to visually see it. So actually, Amanda, this is a great example. So Amanda made the students that spoke their own little custom shirts with their own little person on it instead of Amanda. And it was a really great conversation. I mean, those particular kids, I've talked a lot about it, but I had one student whose family's from India and one student whose family's from Japan. And unless they specifically said a Japanese boy or an Indian girl, it did not look like them. And my district is only 40% white. So that's not representative of our cultures. And I think we did a whole, in our language classes, we're learning about facial features, describing a character, whether it's themselves or a person. And unless you specify the skin color, then it's 100% of the time going to be white. And for them to see that and know that, now they know when they use AI, they have 2 jobs. Their first job is to detective, to look for AI bias and discrimination. And their second one is a DJ and to remix the content. And they said that. They're so cute. But I think to roll it out, and I think the education piece is the most important. And I think the visuals of the AI image generation helps them visually see it. And then you can carry the lesson into text. Like, tell me a story about a doctor and a nurse, and then it's going to be a male and a female. And you could get the text out in other ways. But now they know to keep an eye out for it. But I think the way to get them to see it is through that visual. And I think it's the number one most important thing that we can teach.
I like it. Well, guys, we are at our time. If you want to catch out another great session, Tom Mulaney has a session on bias at 8:00. Tune into that. He's going to be talking in depth on this topic. I think it's a very valuable session that we've added to this week, and it's something that we don't talk enough about. So make sure you check that out. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you, everyone on the panel. I've enjoyed the insights, and the chat was on fire. Like, yeah. I can't wait to go back in and, just unpack some of the comments. I tried to keep them rotating, but yeah, obviously very, very passionate about this panel. I kind of wish I would have made it 2 hours, but next year, or maybe in the summer, we'll do a longer one and have you guys back. But thank you so much. And thank you guys for staying up so late in Spain.
Yes. So good to see you. Twins. I miss you guys.
It was great to see you all.
Great to see you all.
All right.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone.
Good job, y'all. Thanks, Amanda.
See you at the next session.
Take care.